Hi Year 9. Hopefully you've had a chance to go through this warm-up first. I just wanted to recap some of the stuff we've done before so that just to highlight a few things before we go on with new work today. So if you've had a look at question 1, remember there are 2 ways that you can do this question. One is using your rectangles. So I might just do that first for those people that prefer that method. So we've got an x plus 3. And we've got an x plus 4, and we work out the areas in the boxes. So this first one is x squared, this next one is 3x. Down here we have 4x, and remember you're multiplying, so 3 4s are 12. So if we write out everything we've got x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. Don't forget, if those middle 2 terms are like terms, which in this case they are, you've got to add them together. So your final answer should be x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now you might have got it that way, or you might have actually just used FOIL, which is first, outside, inside, last. So I'm going to solve it that way as well, okay, for those people that prefer that. So when I do first, it's going to be x times x. So it's going to equal x squared. Then you're going to do your outside, x times 4, so it's plus 4x. Your inside terms are 3x and x, so 3x. Keep in mind you are multiplying each time, and 3 times 4, you want 12. So that gives the same answer as when we did the boxes. You can use either. When you see this in your test later in the term, whichever method makes the most sense to you. And then that final step. Often, not always, but often those 2 middle terms are like terms, so you put them together. So we have altogether 4x and 3x gives you 7 lots of x plus 12. So you get the same answer no matter which way you do it. Use whichever method makes the most sense to you. So that was expanding, which was getting rid of the brackets. The rest of these questions here are talking about factorising. So we want to be able to put it into brackets. So rule 1 that I want you to use, if you can do it, look for a highest common factor. That's rule 1. Look for highest common factor. So in this case, 2 is the highest common factor and an x. So I take out the highest thing that goes into both. So there's a 2 common to the 2 and the 4, and there's also an x, at least one x. So 2x goes out the front. Then you say to yourself, what do you multiply 2x by to get 2x squared? Well, you need another x, because 2x times x does give 2x squared. There is a minus sign. And what do you need to multiply 2x with to get 4x? We've already got the x, we just need a 2. And that's your answer. Okay, so it could just be as simple as that. So always look for the highest common factor first, because that one's much easier. If, like number 3, you look for the highest common factor, there is nothing common to x squared 25. So the second thing you're going to check, look to see if it's what you did yesterday. Look for the difference of 2 perfect squares, and that's what this one is. So I can see straight away x squared is obviously a perfect square, and 25 is a perfect square. So that tells me I'm going to have 2 brackets. They're going to be identical, except one's positive, one's negative. I put the square root of x squared at the front of each bracket, and the square root of 25 at the end of each bracket. Remember, I said it doesn't matter which order. You could have had x minus 5 written as the first factor and then x plus 5. So either order is fine. So that's the answer to number 3. Hopefully, having seen that one, you can see that number 4 is similar again. Perfect square, takeaway, it's got to be takeaway, 64. So we're going to have 2 brackets. One's positive, one's negative. I'll just change the order for a change. X squared, well, its square root is x, so x goes at the front of each bracket. And 64, if you're not sure if it's a perfect square, put it into your calculator. Can you do the square root of 64? If it works out to a nice whole number like this one does, then it is a perfect square. So 8 goes at the back of each bracket. Okay, and that's number 4. Okay, so that's sort of where we got up to. And then these last 3 questions are leading into the new work for factorising quadratic trinomials. So they're really just giving you 2 clues, and you've got to work out the missing numbers, because we'll use that. If you go on to the week 4 factorising quadratic trinomials, the next lesson, I actually go through these 3 again. So if you've seen enough, you want to stop it there and just start watching the next video, feel free to stop here if you don't want to hear it repeated. Otherwise, if you want to hear it the first time, so it makes a bit more sense the second time, that's fine. So they're asking you for 2 numbers. The clues are they multiply to give 24 and they add to give 11. There's only one combination of numbers that satisfies both. You start with the ones that multiply to give 24. So you think of the factors of 24 in this case. And then, after I've written them, I'm going to choose the pair that adds to give 11. So the factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. There are no other factors. But there's clearly one pair that adds to give 11. So the answer is 3 and 8. That's it. The next one. This time we want 2 numbers, but they're going to multiply to give negative 42, and they're going to add to give 1. Start with the one that they've got to multiply to give. So think of the factors of negative 42. Now the fact that it's negative is meaning one is positive and one's negative. So for 42, even if you just disregard the negative to start with, and put the negative in after. So 1 and 42. 2 lots of 21 would give 42. 3 goes in. That's going to be 3 lots of 14. Use your calculator if you're not sure to find what they are. 4 is not going to go evenly into 42. 5 doesn't go into 42. 6 sevens are 42. So they're the only options. But one pair have to add to give 1. Now keeping in mind they had to be factors of negative 42. So either we've got negative on those numbers, or it could have been a negative on the other number. So to multiply to give a negative, you've got to have different signs. So now when you add them together, you want to get 1. The one you're looking for is here. 6 and 7 with the negative on the 6. If you're adding to give positive 1, the bigger number has to be positive so that when you add them together you still get a positive answer. So the answer I was looking for there, a bit tricky with the negatives, but it's negative 6 and 7. Okay, the 2 answers for that. So there's the first one, all positives, so that makes it a little bit easier. This one, they had to be different signs. Alright, in the final one, 2 numbers that multiply to give 80. So again, we want the 2 numbers, but we've got to choose them so that multiply to give 80 and they're going to add to give negative 18. So start with the one they multiply. Let's think of the factors of 80. Now this says positive 80. The fact that it's positive 80 tells me that they are the same sign. So either your numbers are both positive or they're both negative. And the other clue in this question, they've got to add to give a negative answer. You couldn't have started with 2 positive numbers and had that happen. So I know just before I start that both the numbers are negative. So to get 80, 1 and 80, and we've just said they've both got to be negative, it could be 2 lots of 40, that gives negative 2 and negative 40 give positive 80. 3 is not going to go into 80 evenly, so we can't use that. You could have had 4 lots of 20, again make them both negative. It could have been 5 times 16 gives 80, again use your calculator if you're not sure. 6 doesn't go in, 7 doesn't go in, but 8 tens and 9 doesn't go in. So they're the options we've got. When we add the 2 numbers together we want negative 18. Now that I've written them, hopefully you can see my 2 numbers are negative 8 and negative 10. You'll need this little trick of testing numbers given 2 clues. You'll start with the multiply first and then you'll look at what they add to give. Keep in mind, I've written all my thinking down. I've written all the factors. If you can think of them in your head, that's fine. You don't have to show that working. I'm only showing it so you can see all the combinations, what's going through my head. If you can see it without doing any of that and you can pick your 2 numbers, that's fine. Okay, that's all you need to be able to do. Sometimes it's easier if you can sort of see the first few to start with. So now that you've seen that warm-up, click on down to the next lesson. As I said, those last 3, 5, 6, and 7, those questions will be repeated at the start of the video. So if you didn't get it the first time, you might just want to listen to it a second time. Otherwise, skip past that to get to the summary notes. Thanks, guys.